Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to Proline, direct from Las Vegas, the gaming capital of the world. I'm John Cranton, joined by Las Vegas handicappers Jeff Sard and Zach Simony. It's the post-Super Bowl week. Going to be looking at 3 college basketball games coming up this weekend. But first, the Super Bowl was $116 million was bet legally in Nevada. That is second best to last year. They ended up getting a profit of $3 million, but had Seattle got one more yard at the end, they would have added another $1 million to that kitty. And before we get into the college basketball, let's talk a little bit about that. Jeff, when you saw that last play lined up for Seattle on offense, everybody in the world thought it was going to be a run. Did you think, hey, they're mixing it up, that's good, or what on earth are they doing?
Well, obviously, like everybody else, I thought it was going to go to Lynch, but the whole thing with me is if you're going to pass for some odd reason, at least do play action. Everybody in the world thinks Lynch is going to get the ball, at least fake a handoff. That gives Russell Wilson a second or two extra to find a receiver or run it himself or throw it away. But don't do a slant where there's no room for error in a crowd of people. That's the last thing you want to do in that situation. That was the thing that got me. So I'm still totally surprised they passed it. But if you're going to pass, do something a little bit safer because you have a timeout left and 2 more downs, and that was the thing that really got to me, John.
Well, they didn't exactly do very well holding their timeouts either down the stretch. Zach, how did you see that ending?
You know what? I always listen to the Colin Cowherd show on my way here, and they brought up some good points on their timeout situation. One, why would Bill Belichick not call a timeout? They were in their goal line defense, and he saw the Seattle confusion bringing players in and out. And he knew when they had burned those 2 timeouts that they were going to have to throw. You only have 1 timeout left. If you get stuck there with 20-something seconds left, you have to do a quick spike or you're pretty much out of time there. So they were he did a chess match type of thing, and he felt that the goal line defense, they had prepared all week for any type of scenario down there. And like Butler said, they knew that play was coming. And if you looked at that drive, all the plays were scripted for Seattle. They were doing design throws, even on the quick out to the left. That was a 30-40 yarder. It was a design throw. As soon as Wilson snapped the ball, he was looking that way. Same thing with the cursed fluke catch. He was looking that way. And 3 times too many, looking right there for a design throw. They got in front of it and picked it off. It's going to be, when that drive was going down, it's something else with these New England Patriots Super Bowls. Everything comes down to the end, and that one sure did as well. And we talked about it this year, the year of the repeat champions in the 2000s, and it happened again in the NFL. UConn, Bubba in the golf, the Spurs, San Francisco Giants. Forget who I'm leaving out there. There's a couple others. But they just keep getting it done. The year of the repeat champion, Urban Meyer, three titles, 06, 08, 2014. So I don't know how it keeps happening, but maybe it'll be Duke in college basketball this year.
Probably good coaching and good management, which is what you needed as a staple for teams to repeat. On that last play by Seattle, my focus was actually on Marshawn Lynch when the play began. He was off going to the left. I'm watching him. I'm watching whether the defense is getting any push at the line of scrimmage and if the linebackers are coming up on him. And then it dawns on me, wait a minute, Wilson's rolling the other way and it's a pass. I was stunned that it was a pass call. And the one thing I do remember is a guy at the table we're watching the games with who had bet Seattle, right before Wilson threw, he yelled out, "Just don't do anything stupid." We know which way he bet, but certainly a historical game. They'll be talking about this one for many years to come. It was remarkable. All right, let's get into a couple of college basketball games coming up for the weekend. We're going to start in on Friday, an Atlantic 10 matchup, as Dayton is playing at George Washington. It's a key Atlantic 10 game. VCU in first place, 7-1 as we tape this, but these 2 teams are right behind. This will be the only meeting this season, but Dayton has really dominated the series. 8 of the last 10 they've won between the 2 schools. Last year, Dayton won 75-65 in the last meeting. They played pretty well, shooting 45% as a team, hitting 9 of 21 3-pointers. Thing is about Dayton, they do everything well. In that game, they hit 18 of 21 from the free throw line. George Washington just 18 of 15. GW was a little bit short-handed about that in that game. But right now, again, Dayton once again looking good. 17-4 record. They're on a 7-4 spread run. They're winning and covering games. 10-2 run overall. Kind of a difficult situational handicapping stretch here. It's the middle of a stretch, playing 3 of 4 on the road as well as 4 of 6 away. So, Jeff, is this a game where Dayton is going to have all the cards again against GW?
Well, what you said about the road there is a key factor here. They're only 2-4 against the spread on the road, and they've had some pretty bad games away from home. They got blown out of Arkansas in December, lost by 17 at Davidson, and then last week lost by 2 at UMass. That's the thing that scares me about this game as far as Dayton goes. At home, they won 17 in a row. They beat Fordham 101-77 on Saturday. It was the first time the Flyers have scored 100 points since 1999. Jordan Seibert had 29 points. He leads the team in scoring at 16.5 per game. George Washington is 7-11-1 against the spread, 2-3-1 at home. They're coming off 2 road losses to Rhode Island and VCU. They played great defense against Rhode Island. The Rams only shot 37% for the floor. They made just 1 of 14 three-point shots, but Rhode Island won the game with the free throw line. They made 11 more free throws. So I think George Washington bounces back here at home, and those early road losses by Dayton are the things that kind of scare me about this game, because I had them against Arkansas and they were never even in that game on the road. So I'm going to go with George Washington in this game.
Well, this Dayton team 10-4 against the spread in Atlantic 10 play, also very good off of a loss. That was the case last week. They're 4-1 against the spread after they lose the game. That happened on Sunday. They were coming off a loss, but they crushed Fordham 101-77, shot 61%, hit 9 3-pointers. It's a very good George Washington team of 16-6, with one exception. Their money burners, 2-7-1 spread run, and there's 2 ways to look at George Washington. 10-3 the last 13 games. On the other hand, they've lost 2 in a row. So, Zach, what can they do to maybe ground the Flyers?
I love this game. These are 2 quality teams. Atlantic 10 is one of the underrated conferences in college basketball. But, of course, with Weber going down for VCU, that's going to taint the conference a little bit. So this gives a chance for Dayton and George Washington to move their way up in the conference. One thing I like with George Washington, they're a strong defensive team, and they're at home in this game. Dayton, they're one of the best teams in the country at shooting the 3-ball. They've got 3 guys that light it up. They can make 3 to 4 a game, and they had a really, really, really good stretch for about 5 to 6 games where nobody could stop them in their schedule. So, but lately, you can see, and this happens a lot with teams that have a small depth like Dayton does. They only go 6-7 deep, and they dismiss 2 big men right before Christmas for violations. Miller had to kick them off the team, so they've been playing with a limited bench, and now they're getting in the middle of conference play, and you can see that wear and tear finally starting to accrue, and I think that sides to George Washington. If you compare a team that they've played George Washington on their schedule, I think you'd have to look at Wichita State, same type of 3-point shooting, and George Washington clamped down on them and had the big win in the Hawaii tournament. I think at home they have one of the best big men in the country with Kevin Larson. He's going to be able to dominate inside. There's definitely going to be a rebounding edge in this game for George Washington. And if they can control the perimeter, which I think they can do, they've got the guard size with McDonald, Keithan Savage, and Garino. 3 quality guys that should be able to shut them down on the perimeter. The only thing that worries me is George Washington lulls offensively, but I think at home they'll be able to maintain that. And both of these teams, another X factor, are poor at the free throw line. Let's hope that doesn't come to as a factor in the final 5 minutes of the game. But I would lean George Washington. I think the line will be small on their favor, maybe 1.5. And Dayton, I just see them crumbling a little bit with the depth issues and conference play starting to wear on them.
I'm going to take a look at a defensive duel on Friday night. You got this tough situational spot for Dayton, 4 of 6 on the road. They're in the middle of that stretch. Meanwhile, GW, they play terrific defense, particularly at home. They're coming off that game against Rhode Island where they were down 28-10. They actually clawed their way back into it with outstanding defense, a 23-9 run. In the end, Rhode Island shot just 37% and 59 points, but it still wasn't enough to get the win for George Washington. But still a terrific defensive team. They're 2-8 against the spread in Atlantic 10 conference play. And when GW faces a team with a winning record, 0-6 against the spread. However, they're also 9-2 under the total after a loss, and that's part of a trend for George Washington, going 14-4 under the total with that great defense. That's how I'll look to Friday night's game.